So, an interesting topic with Rukhsana Modin discussing why we need life coaches. And I think it's about time we realize that we can change our lives for a better, irrespective of even going through the COVID-19 period right now. There's many challenges people are facing, but it's how we deal with it and how we overcome it. Talking about giving back, that's I think one of the ways with us in South Africa is during this period we learned about Ubuntu and sharing and helping and creating support structures. And one phenomenal person has just done that. His name is Jaco van der Linde, and he's the founder of Pedal Projects. He's going to talk to us about how they're using cycling and sport to get children from disadvantaged communities off the street, which I think is so imperative because once these kids are on the streets, they're literally facing all these negative elements, and these negative elements end up in getting inculcated in themselves. And these are the types of adults we produce, which is not what we want in our society or our communities. So, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining me on the show. Should we say this afternoon, since it's a 12:15? A warm welcome, Jaco.
Thank you very much, Nafeesa. Yeah, I'm very honored to be on your show, and thank you for making time here.
I think it's always for us an inspiration to be able to speak to role models like yourself that go out there and define the needs of the people in the communities and society to say, what is it that we can do to be able to better the lives of people? So, before we do that, talk to us a little bit about yourself because you seem to be one of those givers.
Yeah, I mean, I just where it all started, I just wanted to give back and show kids who don't have the opportunity what it is to ride bikes in the mountain and what it means to me. And where I was in a fortunate enough situation to experience this most of my life, and I've always had a wanted to do more ways of giving back. You know, I think just doing recycling and doing a couple of donations was it's a starting point. But if you have the opportunity to go the extra like 100 miles, you know, and you're willing to take it up, why not?
Hmm. It's nice to see that you're looking at the disadvantaged communities because this is what we like to pen on the show is the people from the townships always get forgotten. And we always believe in the fact that we need to give the voice to the voiceless. And by you doing this particular project is you shedding light on the types of challenges they're facing, but also by giving them that second chance at life and that hope for them to see the beauty of life through cycling and through sport. And I think it's a phenomenal idea because through a light-hearted way, you're actually changing the mindsets that they're in and the types of situations they face. And as we know, in these types of areas, there's many negative elements that people like them actually face.
Yeah, Nafisa, I mean, even with the intro, you were spot on with everything you said. I mean, there's kids where we work with kids between the ages of 10 and 13, and they're at such a vulnerable age where everything that happens around them, I mean, they experience so much trauma or what we call adverse child events that has a negative impact on them physically, but also mentally, and that's
Hmm.
where trying to step in and provide them with the mental health support for them to overcome those mental but also physical mountains for them to reach. Now, as you mentioned, sport is a one way which we use as a platform, and the wonderful people at Lauria's Sport Foundation has created the methodology of sport for good, where we use it as a vehicle to engage with kids, but then we layer on a variety of other support tools through mentorship, where our coaches are more than just
Hmm.
sport coaches. They are the older brothers. They are potentially the parents that very seldom or often see in a single parent household. We also
Mm.
provide with like support mechanisms in terms of mindfulness, breathing techniques, so that they're trying to be aware in terms of what their actions are going to lead to. And as much as I think when you said a second chance, I think they're still up there for the first chance, while
Mm.
they need the right guidance for them to excel and take that leap forward.
I like your idea about saying the first chance, because what it means is that before they even get into that element, you're actually guiding them to say that, you know what, this is the direction you need to take. But through sport and mentorship, you're also guiding them and saying, these are the positives of life, and this is how you deal with particular challenges. But you are also creating the support structure that I think that they're looking for, and bridging the gap, because that's what happens in the townships. Many people don't have that opportunity to be able to go out there and say, I need direction, I need guidance. And that's where you come into play. That's where pedal projects comes into play. I think it's one of serious essence, because you're not just giving back through sport, but you're creating holistic beings at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, that's correct. I mean, these kids are, they're either like ending up on the streets and after school. I mean, this, as you know, the life in townships are very hard. The schools can only do so much of the limited funding, and once the school finishes at 3 o'clock, they end up in the street and they need to potentially expose to all life and matter that happens on the streets. And for what we do is the parents are just so stoked to have an opportunity for the kids to participate in something. And we, like you mentioned, we create that platform for the kids to engage and talk to us, and well, my coaches, and for us to provide that support and find out what they need and how we can go, not just in our program and our curriculum, but beyond that, to provide a holistic support in terms of what we can. And we work with as many partners who's keen and able to facilitate additional help,
Mm.
because these challenges is one organization, or even the numerous organizations that's out there, the challenges just keeps mounting for all of us that's trying to provide positive and good impact in the world.
Hmm. Jaco, would you agree with me? I mean, I've been to many a townships, to be able to do a bit of motivation, but also look at the type of environments these people are facing. And one thing that's come to light is that, as you were saying, the negative elements are there. And, the minute they walk out of that school environment, or that educational institution, the vibe is so different in that area. The environment is so different. You can actually feel those negative elements around you. And what I said the other day to somebody was the fact that it's not just educating the kids, but would you agree with me to say that what the parents do is what the kids see as a norm, and it's also having to change the mindsets of the people in the townships from the adult point of view as well, to say that, look, we understand these are the challenges and the defined needs in your area, but this is how you can help out, but this is how you can help yourself as well. Because as we know, there are many parents that are unemployed at this point in time, and then the negative elements come into play, and that's what affects the kids as well. And when they see the parents doing that, they'll most likely drive towards that and get magnetized towards that as well.
No, for sure. I mean, that's where the role of positive mentorship needs to come into play. I mean, as you said, I mean, the parents also face hardship, and where they need to go, and they need to find coping mechanisms. I mean, I've been trying to line up with also organizations, because I believe in making a holistic approach in terms of what we do. It doesn't
Mm,
necessarily only sit with the kids, because you can only work with them for so long, but then it ends up also part and parcel of what the parents and the guardians do. That there's organizations that try to work with parents whose kids are in programs like ours, because the kids are progressing so much faster than what the parents are actually can cope
mm,
with. So that it needs to give back across the board, not just the teachers, the parents, and the kids. It takes a village to raise a child, and a village to help guide everyone around it. I mean, with the as you mentioned, the negative elements in and around there, it's that it will always be there. I mean, whether you're in a wealthy community or under-resourced community, it's there. But
mm,
it comes down to, what are your support structures around there? Who are the
mm,
people who can help you and guide you and support you when you need it most? I mean, I've been through my own hardship in life, but I was fortunate enough to have the guidance in my life, I think maybe that's in a sense where I'm giving back to say thank you.
There's something that I read about you, which I find so imperative to read out to our viewers, and I am going to read it out. It says, "Do you recall the first time you rode a bike?" And I think, for us as people that come out of different communities like this, riding a bike is just like an everyday kind of thing. When we say, I think sometimes we take it for granted, but not realizing, should we say, the excitement and the love and the inculcation of something else that culminates from riding this bike for the first time for a child from the township and the excitement with it. But I think what I read about what you said, Jaco, it says that, you did applied research and it tells you that riding a bike has an unequivocally positive impact on cognitive, emotional, and of course, physical well being. And I think that is so important because that creates a holistic person. And it also says on the trail, children can be in the present moment. They're able to forget their hardships. Every time they do this, something slowly mends and reforms. They can experience carefree joy with the wind on their faces and hope that anything is possible, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. It's so full of essence. It actually makes you think in such a positive direction.
No, for sure. I think, like you said, you tend to forget what you know how awesome it was for getting on a bike, and the saying is like once you get on a bike, you'll never forget, and it's just something that becomes natural to you. But when I started this organization, well, launched it last year, and with our concept phase, and I was under the impression that all these kids would know how to ride a bike, and I was
Mhm.
unfortunately proven wrong. But we taught them, and we got them to ride a bike, and they just to see the smile on the faces and the joy they got able to
Mhm.
ride a bike in a safe environment in green spaces amongst the trees. And for those 2-3 hours every week that we could give the kids a breather from the life in township, where everything was just it's not the same. At least give them some variation, some new experiences, and help build them new capacities in terms of what we can ultimately teach them. I mean, the bicycle is probably one of the most simplest forms of like transport, or I mean, it's two wheels and a couple of gears, but it's ultimately the human that drives it. But there's so much that the bike can do, and especially when you're riding in a mountain, with everything you need to do in terms of focusing and changing your gears and picking your line and getting over roots and rocks. And I mean, that's what always bring it back to the an analogy of it's the same challenge you'll face every day, and to climb the
Mm.
mountain, to reach the top whenever it is, but and then to ride that downhill and as much smiling as your face until you get to the next mountain to climb again.
It's the experience, the fulfillment, and the happiness that comes with it. I think that makes the difference. So it's an experience on its own, and I think doing it in the outdoors is absolutely grand because what happens is you're in a totally different environment to what you're normally in, and it gets your mind going on another level. It opens up that mindset and it changes it for the better. So I think you're doing something absolutely phenomenal. What would you say was your best moment being with these kids and interacting with them?
Sure, like don't have a lot of time to reflect whilst you're setting up and running around, but I think like just that first week when we got our kids on bikes, I think even though as chaotic it was, and the the times we had, and just to get them on the bikes and see the happiness that was on there. I think you drive and create this dream and this vision, and build on from that as much and as far as you can, but to see it to some form of the seed taking growth, and how you can build like grow from there was joy. And I think meeting the kids and the crazy ones, the shy ones, and just I've only have one kid and love it to bits, but last year I had 21 kids, and this year I've got 51.
Wow.
So to see and work with them and help them grow, and build the stoke, and for them to get on bikes, and yeah, be that happiness.
And I'm sure there's a lot of fulfillment that comes with it because it's not just that, it's what culminates from after that. The type of mindset that they go back with to the township is so different to before they started riding that bike. And I think that's what we're trying to do, is change mindset, especially through COVID-19. People are facing mental wellness issues. Kids are facing mental wellness issues due to the types of situations they face. They didn't even know what COVID-19 was. It became very overwhelming, and there was no way to be able to deal with it. But this gives them a chance to be able to open up and feel that freedom and happiness, and of course, like I said, that positivity.
No, for sure. I mean, like COVID-19 was part and a parcel also why I started it. I mean, like I was suffering, my mental health was suffering due to the deep levels of lockdown and not being able to participate in the sport and anxiety and everything that was happening. And as I came to realization that could obviously couldn't just only be me, and as I wanted to get more kids on bike, it just dawned on me that the the situation kids in the townships find them even more, right? So by a combination and working with a holistic approach with, as we said, mentorship, mindfulness, and giving the kids trail, like what I like to call trail therapy, is to use the power of the bike and everything around them to expose them to like not better experiences but new experiences, and help build those capacities and build that social capital where they can at least know that when they go back home there is ways to deal with the challenges they face, and give them new sense of hope and inspiration for the day ahead, and ultimately get them to be more engaged and fulfilled at school, which we've picked up
Mm,
with our evaluation reports that we've done, that the kids
mm.
are performing like holistically better at school and at home, and the parents can see the changes what the program brings.
I think that's absolutely phenomenal because it also takes away that substance abuse element, which I spoke to one of my guests about earlier, coming from the Mitchell's Plain area. And as we know, that's also a disadvantaged area. Which areas are you working in at present?
So right bordering to Mitchell's Plain is it's Khayelitsha. The reason why I initially chose Khayelitsha is because they have a fledgling, not a fledgling, but they've got actually quite an established cycling community. That's why I chose them, but also I realized subconsciously that I've chosen the community which is almost the one of the communities that the furthest away from any mountain, which they'll probably have very little opportunity to go ride mountain bike. I think,
Hmm.
as you know, that spatial separation, that where kids, the under resourced communities are situated the furthest from the mountains, and those are partly what I also want to bring into the sport, and just to help grow grassroots levels into communities that doesn't necessarily have direct access to it, and to ride a bike in a mountain. So yeah, for now it's at Khayelitsha, but obviously looking to see in the future. I mean, we're going into year 2 now, to as to how we can roll this out into other communities across South Africa.
And if people would like to join in on this initiative, how would they get a hold of you?
So still building my site, unfortunately, but on obviously I have all my social medias up and line. So for now, they can definitely reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So our handles are Pedal for Good. So it's a PEDAL. So obviously it's like cycling pedal. And
Hmm.
then once our website should be up and running the next like week or so, and that would be pedalproject.co.za.
Perfect. I think it's imperative for others to be able to hop on board and allow themselves to be able to entice people into an empowerment level, because that's, I think, what you're doing right now is teaching them to be holistic beings, which will in turn then teach them the positive sense of being empowered and, should we say, sustained.
No, for sure. I mean, if you give them opportunity, and at least to become the best human possible, and try and avoid the negative challenges that they could face if they're going to become disengaged at school and with their parents. They're going to find ways where they're going to want to chase a new thrill or rush. Be it substance abuse or violence or gangs. I mean, bikes do change lives, and
Mm.
there's numerous stories that where it has, from world champions to people just on the street, there's, yeah, you just need to give them just one opportunity at least beyond that.
Well, we want to thank you because you've definitely changed our perspective today on the way we look at a bike. I think if I go home and look at my son's bike, it's going to be definitely looking at it in a different perspective, in a different way to say, wow, it really does serve a purpose of essence, should we say, and a symbol of positivity and empowerment in many directions when it comes to what you're doing from your project point of view. So, from the Salam Media team, we want to commend you on the type of work you're doing and the defined need that you've created. I think is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for joining us. Wishing you nothing but the best going forward and hoping to chat to you and catching up with you soon to see how much further you've reached. Do take care and all the best going forward.
Cool, awesome. Thank you so much for your time and having me on your show. Have a wonderful day further.
You too. It was an absolute pleasure. Do take care. Thank you so much, Jaco van der Linde. Definitely a positive being going out there, creating positive vibes through riding. And I never thought, I could actually change my perspective on that after speaking to him. It definitely goes to show that there's essence in many things that we overlook. We're going to go for a quick break. We'll be back with you after this.